This is a lockdown booty call. A lockdown booty call.
Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Lockdown Booty Calls. In this episode, I speak to the disgustingly talented Paul Silky White. I've known Silky for about 5 years now. He is a stalwart of the UK comedy circuit, a phenomenal musician, naturally hilarious, very intelligent, and an all-round nice guy. What a bastard, eh? We discussed motivation, focus and routine when it comes to creating new material, and we also talked a fair bit of nonsense along the way, so pop your headphones in, make yourself a cup of tea, and I hope you enjoy episode 1 of Lockdown Booty Calls. Silky, welcome to Lockdown Booty Calls. It's fantastic to see you. I'm even more delighted after our conversation last week about Tropic Thunder that you've chosen not to black up for this podcast.
My word, yes. Yeah, some things have changed recently, but in the past 10 years, the idea of the man who played Iron Man blacking up on screen for Tropic Thunder and having the never go full retard discussion with Ben Stiller, I think we're moving into more interesting times.
Yeah, but it's good to set the tone, isn't it, for any sort of online conversation. Just to point out to people actually watching this as opposed to listening to it, which basically means just my parents at this stage in proceedings, you do always look like that. You haven't been ill. You are in full fine health.
Yes, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I mean, if you want, I can go into the sunshine and then you'll see the laptop fall to the ground in a column of smoking ash. I normally look this healthy, so.
I'm a little sort of Twilight-esque sparkle going on whenever you step into direct sunlight. So, Silky, where are you at the moment? Describe your lockdown bunker.
I'll get out of the way. This is my kind of through living room. I have a piano here.
That is a real piano.
I tend not to play that because I've got a keyboard upstairs and also I've got neighbours.
Yeah.
So I've got record player. I've got I brought the desktop computer down so I can watch DVDs on it and stuff. Still not into Netflix. Still don't have a TV. Comfy sofa. Very comfy chair. Very comfy chair.
Oh, is that leather? Well distressed leather.
Sorry, mate. What were you saying?
God, there's been so much action in the first 2 minutes of this recording already. I feel a bit out of breath. It's the most. Oh, and we've got a jacket on as well. This is.
I was having a tidy the other day and found a Moomin badge. So there you go.
And was it attached to the jacket?
No. It was. I'll leave the jacket on. Let's formalise this. No, it was. I think intended. I was going to give it to a friend when next I saw them, but then all the unpleasantness went on. The kerfuffle.
The kerfuffle. That begins with a K, so you are allowed to say it. It's any other C word which is banned for this.
Yes. So now I've got a jacket on. I feel like I'm properly dressed for podcasting.
Yeah, and we assume you are naked from the waist down, as with any sort of Zoom recording. It is the dumb thing.
I have been naked from the waist down. Earlier today, I was entirely naked. I was showering. I was making sure that my personal hygiene was up to scratch because I don't know how good.
Is it that time of the month already?
Oh yeah, I mean it's the 16th, isn't it? Once you get past the Ides of April, you've got to make sure that all the gooch has been well sterilised and the clefts and the mossy folds have been scrubbed into. I think you bring out this side of me.
What's that cologne you're wearing? Oh, it's Gucci. That's
it
on
really
the 15th.
is.
It is really
Gucci goo.
Gucci pour on.
A strong fent for the housebound.
the musk of real man. I like it. Yeah.
Oh, good.
I think we need a safe word, don't we? If anything's slightly too risque.
I've got me a pencil ready, so the safe. I mean, I know a lot of podcasts don't establish a safe word, which seems like folly to me. So
they're not doing it right.
Safe, sane, consensual podcasting. So what would your safe word be?
I quite like kerfuffle, actually.
Kerfuffle, okay.
And it's also one of those ones which is still easy to say when you're gagged, because actually most words sound like kerfuffle. You could say anything. Oh, kerfuffle.
Kerfuffle.
Most words do
Yeah.
sound like kerfuffle, so it's extra safe. You can never be too safe with podcasts, especially with all these online viruses going around and whatnot.
And your parents watch this, you say?
Yeah, maybe this one won't be released for a while, but
shall we start again?
yes. Silky, thanks a lot for coming on the.
It's nice to be here on a parental guidance podcast. The guidance being that you don't show it to your parentals.
Yeah, my parents are filth bags anyway. Even though my mum will be denying it and tutting, she will be squealing away with laughter.
I mean, if any of your viewers are troubled by hiccups, remember, if it wasn't for your parents doing it, none of us would be here. So,
what, hiccuping?
Yes,
Is that how it's done? I didn't really pay attention in biology. I'll be careful when
that's
that's
good.
When I hiccup in the shops next time I go in there. Silky, what would you normally be doing if we weren't in lockdown on a normal April? What would you normally be doing? Because obviously you do lots of gigs out on the road all over the country. You've done some work as well, and you teach online. You don't teach online courses.
I've not done cruise ship work. I've done work at kind of holiday resorts around the place, but very little.
Was it Jacques? I remember having a conversation with Jacques Barrett.
Yes, no, we done some. Yeah, we did some international gigs, and then we got a kind of lucky break where we were supposed to be gigging in the Seychelles for a reclusive Arab billionaire, and we got a per diem. So we just kind of sat in Jakarta in Indonesia for a few days, being paid to do nothing. And then we got the call saying, no, the gig's not going ahead. So I got home after having been away for about 3.5 weeks, and I got literally through the front door, put my bags down, put my arms around my girlfriend, and as I was in the kitchen making a cup of tea, the phone rang, and it was a mutual friend, Martin Evans, South African comedian, saying, hi, the gig's back on. How quickly can you get to Manchester Airport? And I went, what, kind of first thing tomorrow? And he went, no. How quickly can you get to Manchester Airport? So basically kissed my girlfriend, ordered another taxi, picked up my bags, and then had a day trip to the Seychelles. And that was a month where I spent longer in Dubai airport than at home. And it was great. It's what every comedian dreams of.
So this is what your normal day-to-day would look like. If we weren't in lockdown, you would be jetting around all over the world to do potential gigs for Arab millionaires or billionaires. Do you do gigs for millionaires as well? Do you allow yourself to drop down to that category?
I mean, you can't really...
Man of the people.
Oh, I am. No passaran. Of late, I've been in a very fortunate position in that I've had lots of time to kind of reflect, because the way that I was earning, rather than going out and competing with everyone else for circuit gigs, I'd started deriving more of my own income from live show sales and from teaching, which is I was doing on a Monday night just around the corner from where I live. So it meant that I could be a lot more choosy about the stuff that I went in for, because rather than going, oh, good, there's a gig, it's 300 quid, but it's in Plymouth, so it's going to take a day to get there, a day to get back home from there. And if I stay over anywhere or eat anything, I might as well do a gig at home for 50 quid and get 2 extra days of my life. So I've been thinking more about that.
And that's the thing, when you are a gigging comedian, Joe Public will just see you for the 20 minutes or half an hour that you're on stage. They don't realise that actually you're a full-time driver, and then you have a little break midway through the drive to go and tell some jokes to some people who hopefully will respond favourably to them. Otherwise, it's a long drive on the way home.
One of the secrets of stand-up comedy is that we would do it for free, and we do get paid for the commute, which is the opposite of a lot of people's working days. Yeah, it's a ridiculous way to earn a living, swearing at strangers for pounds.
Again, something I'd be doing for free.
Yeah. But let's face it, this bit is going to work very, very well on the webcast. But if anyone's listening to it as a podcast, they'll have no idea what's happening now.
Yeah, I'm trying to give a director's commentary. So Silky has picked up a large hula hoop. Is this wow, that is really quite spectacular. That's a large, and he's gyrating in a fashion that I've never really seen live or online before. And and now fireworks and the sparklers. I don't know where those dancing girls came from, but this is, if you do get a chance to watch this as well as just listen to it, then I really do recommend it, because that was quite dramatic. And to nail that double somersault at the end, no.
I don't mind telling you,
What talent.
you have to do the sumo thing. You have to tuck both of them up the back passage when you.
Are we talking about the dancing girls here, or
No. The stones, the pea berries. You have to make sure that they're well stowed away.
this is going to need
the hanging
so
brain.
much editing? It's brilliant.
Should we start for a third time?
This is going to, yeah. Silky, thanks a lot for coming down. Now stay where you are.
Hey there, Robin. It's lovely to talk to you.
So this leads me on to my next question very, very nicely. Have you had any moments in the last few weeks that have made you seriously question your sanity? Now, you are, in the nicest possible way, bonkers at the best of time. If you meet you in person, if you see you on stage, or just have a chat with you on the phone, is there anything which may go, this is really, really affecting me?
I'm intrigued by the bonkers thing. I always thought it was quite tedious, but thank you. You've made me reassess.
You were tediously
everything.
bonkers, if that helps.
Oh, good. Yeah. Consistently 3 stars. Bonkers. My girlfriend is still working. She works in food distribution, let's say that. And she has been doing some really early starts. So I've been setting a routine for a couple of years now, that I'd set my alarm for 7 o'clock, and I'd get up and I'd do stuff. I'd kind of do writing exercises, or I'd kind of read, or I'd meditate, or I'd sit on the back step with a spliff and a mug of tea. If the weather was sufficiently clement. But is
that Yorkshire meditation? That's what happens in Leeds. Yeah.
I'm not originally from Yorkshire, so of course I had to adapt pretty quickly to their ways. Otherwise I'd smell wrong. But knowing that the alarm was set for 7, I woke up a little before and realised that the alarm clock was about to go off. And instead of just switching the alarm clock off, I thought, no, that alarm clock's waited all night to sing its song, to do the one thing that it does. And it's been patient for 7 hours. So I'm going to be patient for the alarm clock. So I just sat on the end of the bed, just with my fingers on my knees for about 4 minutes. And then the alarm clock went off and I went, thank you, and switched off the alarm. And then as I walked downstairs, I thought, I don't think anyone else is doing that right now. I don't think other people are waiting for their alarm clock on behalf of the alarm clock. It was only a few minutes rather than hours.
Was part of you intrigued to see if it would go off? Whether
just staring at it.
Yeah.
Just trying to kind of just pop the batteries out with the power of my mind.
Yeah, and the take-home message from this is you can't rush a clock that's about to go off.
Yeah, I'd suppose
clock, I said, with an L.
No, I heard. I was going down the kind of Mission Impossible route rather than the pornographic parody route. What would a pornographic parody of Mission Impossible be?
Mission Impossible?
Oh, very nice. Yes.
That did just come off the top of my head. It's not on my
that's very good.
On my box set list for later this afternoon. Although it is now. Let me make a note.
Yeah, and that's now the name of the Mission Impossible porn parody box sets. The literal box set. Setting like jelly.
Yeah, I've still got Shaving Ryan's Privates to finish, but I've had a good few goes at trying to get to the end of that. I never make it, but again, let's change the subject, because this is purely for my parents' benefit at the moment, this podcast. So you were saying about how you've been able to reflect and think about how you have been working, about your comedy and changing your routine, and made you question traveling around to some of the further gigs when you can do stuff around the corner.
Yeah.
I know that you do teach a comedy course, and that's been going for 7 years, I think. But you're pushing to launch an equivalent online version of this. Is that right?
Yeah. It's an interesting kind of place to be in mentally, because I've always had imposter syndrome, and then doing the comedy courses, some of the people who've gone through the comedy course, I mean, there's 500 people have graduated from it now, and some of them have kind of won national competitions. Some of them have just made some new mates and done something that they wouldn't have done otherwise. But there's this community that's grown up around it, which is just wonderful to be part of. And it all started because a friend of mine said, "Why don't you teach comedy?" And I went, "Why would I do that? No one would want to learn comedy from me." And I kind of challenged myself just to try it. And then here I am 7 years down the line, and it's just been so rewarding. So an online version of that seems to make more sense in the absence of kind of being able to do a physical course. But it's all those challenges. I mean, it's taking my own lessons. It's like the comfort zone doesn't have a hard border. It's not like it's kind of razor wire with machine gun emplacements along at regular intervals. If you do something that's outside your comfort zone, it doesn't take much to be outside your comfort zone. And then once you've made that transition, you can keep going. It's like when they send kind of like rockets to the moon and stuff, the NASA Apollo missions, they use 95% of the fuel in the first 6 miles. And that's just getting out of the atmosphere. After that, once you've done that first hurdle, it's a damn sight more easy to maneuver and go long distances than you'd think.
And then the comfort zone changes as you grow and evolve, and your confidence levels and experience improves. Then the comfort zone does move along with it, doesn't it? And so, so I imagine teaching a comedy course in person now would be very different from how you went about it 7 years ago. And so this online course is the next step. But
it's the next thing out of the comfort zone, because you don't have that immediacy of response from people who are in the room. I mean, you can see each other's faces like this on a screen, but a lot of the value that I've found from the course, or I've seen other people take from the course, is being in a room with strangers, all of whom are willing to play and go, actually, we all look like grown-ups, but we're probably not as grown-up as we think we come across. And then having that shared experience, my main misgiving is making sure that experience is as good as it can be online without having all those people together going, oh, this is a bit fun and strange.
Because human interaction is so key to the majority of comedy. And in a situation where you have complete beginners putting themselves out there and trying out something new, in a live setup, you'd have people in the same boat, and there's an atmosphere and people are supportive. And yes, it can still be very daunting to step on a stage in front of, even if it's 10 people, it's still quite daunting to do that. But it's getting that sort of feedback. And I know a lot of mates of mine and mutual friends are doing live comedy shows online and Zoom. For me, it hasn't really inspired me to really pursue doing the live stuff, because I realize I get so much from audience feedback, and I do a lot of interaction stuff anyway, but just seeing people's faces and getting the laughter and just this little sort of pat on the back to say, it doesn't matter how many gigs you've done, it just says, oh, actually you can do this is why you're here. And it's just very weird, and getting my head around doing it in an empty room without any sort of rapport with an audience. Obviously that's what
without the validation.
it's like Edinburgh Festival, isn't it? But it just seems quite weird doing that. And it'd be interesting to see how, as you said, the online course will need to evolve slightly, and I'll see how it works. You may get a very different experience from that compared to if you did come and do it live. So be very keen.
But it's making sure that it's still as valid an experience, because I know I was listening to a podcast this morning, the Rule of Three podcast, and they were interviewing Eddie Izzard about. He was talking about John Lithgow in Third Rock from the Sun, but before that, in the first part of it, he was talking about the comedy circuit as he came to it in the late 80s, early 90s. And he was saying people would get a 20-minute set together, and rather than being playful, rather than trying new stuff, because of the pressure of performing, say, a Friday night a late show at the store, at the Comedy Store, you had to just bring this edifice. And he said the phrase, it would become like a prayer. It would be locked in concrete, that they would kind of go on with this thing that
a
didn't change.
fully polished package,
Precisely.
and that is the product that they are getting, and it won't vary at all, won't be adapted for the audience or for the room. So
Yeah, and I've known comedians who have that 20 minutes, and it was a great 20 minutes, but a long time ago, and now the circuit's moved completely. And then obviously with kind of everything being shut down and the ghost lights being on every stage, there's not a circuit. So I love the idea of going, hello, you don't know me, I don't know you. I can see a little rectangle with your head in it. I'm going to try and make you laugh, but I'm not going to do this 20 minutes that worked in Watford in 2011 to a room full of stag and hen do's. I'm just going to go, sorry, what's that behind you? And then incorporate all the things that I can see on the screen and make it different every time, make it magic and special. Like, I've never done a gig from my front room where I've got to sit in my comfy armchair before, but it's all part of howling into the dark.
And I think, well, again, going back to the sanity thing, if you're a performer, you need to perform. If you're used to having an audience, at this stage, it's uncharted territory, and we don't know how long it's going to last. And you just, it's that endorphin rush of having someone, and you live to put a smile on people's face. And if you're not allowed anywhere near people, you do miss that. And that sort of audience reaction is like a drug sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it really works both ways. When you have a terrible audience, and you get the lows and the very sort of bleak, nightmarish hallucinations, but then you do get the real highs as well. So
yeah, but be honest, how regularly would you get nightmarish audiences? Because in my experience, it's vanishingly rare that there's not a group of people for whom you can't do something which will elevate their mood. And the real nightmare audiences are few and far between, but by and large, they're not down to you. They're down to either the setup of the room or the setup of the sound. If you can't be seen, if you can't be heard, then the audience, it's hard for them to stay engaged. And also, if they don't have any engagement in the first place, if they don't have a buy-in, it's not like a kind of, they've come to see you at a show, so they've gone out of their way to find you and be where you are when you are performing. And sometimes they'll have paid for a ticket as well, that investment. If they don't have any of that, if you're kind of imposed upon them, like, this is why a lot of corporate gigs are horrible.
I was going to say, the corporate Christmas parties, when you've got a room full of 200 people who they've got free booze and a free buffet, and they just want to stand around and chat and have a catch up with someone they haven't seen for 20 minutes since they left work, and your background comedy doesn't really work, does it?
No. I mean, that's one of the things I like about being a musician, the fact that I can actually do something which can start as the background and then emerge into the foreground. And as more people kind of start paying attention, you can pick up more attention from that, and it becomes a cascade effect. Yeah. But yeah, still a lot of gigs.
But you've got to learn. It is a challenge to. I remember my first very sort of weird corporate Christmas party was an army regiment one, and that was I felt sort of very sort of battle worn and scarred at the end of it. But at the time, it was daunting, it was nerve-wracking, but I learned so much from that situation, which I've then been able to apply to other gigs when they haven't necessarily been going well, and learning not to take it personally. And there are gigs where it's as you said, you do it for the love of it, and the money for commuting is secondary. But then there are gigs where it does feel like work, and that's when you have to switch on and go, right, I'm going to get through this. I know I can do it. I've done it before. And then you just keep checking your notes on your hand, and you keep checking the watch at the same time.
Yeah, but I mean, two things from that. Firstly, no one watching this or listening to this should ever imagine that stand-up comedy is work. It's not work. I've had all sorts of jobs before I did comedy. I had one day where I had to unload a full-length container off the back of a ship, which went on the back of a lorry, which arrived in an industrial estate in South Merseyside. And they opened the doors, and there was 19 ton of pasta, all in boxes. And I had to unload that. And that was work. Unload that onto pallets. And bear in mind that you open the doors, and I was faced with just this wall of pasta kind of.
Oh, wooden pallets, not sort of directly into the end consumer's palate.
Oh no! Just fling them in. I hope you've got a lot of saliva because this lasagna's dry.
This is al dente to the max. Yeah.
Another thing, there was a woman who did one of my comedy courses. Her name is Barbara Nixon, and she does a lot of corporate training. She does a lot of online stuff. But something I heard from her is confidence is the memory of action. So if you've done something that's gone into your memory banks, be it a corporate gig or be it asking someone out who you thought was out of your league, or some sort of sporting metaphor I've no understanding for, running for a try. I don't know, you're a rugby player, just picking up the ball and legging it the length of the rugby tee, whatever it is.
Yeah, on the rugby tee.
Golf sticks. And if you have the memory of that action, that's where your confidence comes from. Because if you've got memory of it going badly, you can go, okay, well, that's what I did last time. I can try a different tack. And if it went well last time, then you can have something of a ready reckoner as to what's going on this time.
Yeah, I think that fits very well. So if you, if for some reason you are running and want to score a rugby goal and it doesn't go quite right, you still pick up your golf bats and hopefully it will go better next time.
And just flail around with them in either arm, because that'll keep the rugby guardians away. Is that the ones?
Yeah, the rugby guardians. Yeah. Other newspapers are available.
Newspaper. The classified section.
Oh dear, it's got me. Oh, have you got a delivery?
I do. Bear me a second. Sorry about this. I can be a proper twat and say, "Do excuse me, I'm recording a podcast."
Who's the special guest going to be, Owen?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're all right.
I'm not too bad at all. How are you going?
I'm good, thank
Grant, do you need a signature or anything?
No.
Good. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go easy. A special guest is something that my girlfriend has ordered online. I'm going to show you. It comes from Wiggle.
Oh, is she a cyclist or a runner or something?
She is a runner and has cycled as well. So,
yeah.
I mean, I sit here rolling fags and wondering how early in the day I can open a bottle of beer. But my girlfriend,
If she's running and cycling, then that's your exercise covered as well. We're all in this together, aren't we?
Well, when she runs and cycles at the same time, I mean, she can sometimes get her feet badly ground into the bicycle chain. So I suppose you've got to do one or the other.
Yeah.
Double up on exercise. I don't know. I don't understand exercise.
I think we should move away from anything sport related.
Yes.
Obviously, I'll post links to all your social media and where you can get this online course or where you can sign up for it. And you're also doing a USB with one of your shows on it, which I can highly recommend. I remember the first time actually seeing you in 2016 at Edinburgh Festival and wandering into a very dark, dirty dive bar called Sneaky Pete's, which is a quite iconic venue in Edinburgh, where we shared that venue. I think I was on at 1 p.m. and you were doing the sort of late show, 9 or 10 o'clock, weren't you? And walking in and thinking, oh, what's this? It feels like Alexi Sales teamed up with Django Reinhardt. It's fantastic. Had sort of highbrow and lowbrow, slight Scouse accent, and some gypsy jazz going on. I thought, this is someone I can see myself bonding with.
It's nice to be able to play some expensive chords and use some rude words at the same time.
Yeah, so I would highly recommend to anyone listening to this to get that USB. I will post links to that. It's only a tenner, which for me I think it's worth at least 12. But hard times.
Well, it's 13 with postage and packing.
13,
I mean, I can come and deliver it to you, but
that's about £1 more than I think it's worth. But again, support starving artists and whatnot. But yeah, I will post links to that. Let's go back to inspiration, because you are I've seen you doing live streaming cooking. I've seen you playing your jingly jangly guitar at times, and you're obviously very intelligent. You do hide it quite well on a lot of the time but
I am fortunate to have a high degree of intelligence.
I think that says it all. How do you keep yourself inspired when you are shut inside a flat or a house? What is your go-to?
Do stuff. Do something. I've been doing a writing boot camp. Tim Clare, I think it's timclarepower.co.uk. He has a writing boot camp, which is couched to 80k, which is kind of 8 weeks worth of writing exercises. So I thought, well, that'd be fun. I'll have a look at that. And then I shared it with some of the people who've done the comedy course and said, I'm going to be doing this. Who fancies doing this along with me? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go in a group. So I try and say, I'm doing this, I'm finding some enjoyment in this, I'm kind of liking twisting my brain with this. Who else wants to give it a go as well? Because there's always people around you who will be at whatever remove, be it kind of on Twitter or on a text or on an email, eager to look for something to occupy the time. And if you can do something creative that you can compare and contrast, and you can say, oh, I found today's exercise really weird, or I didn't think I was that inspired today, and have that back and forth with them, and do that. I mean, I'm at the fortunate stage now where I'm literally less than a handful of pages away from starting a new notebook, and that always feels really good. I've got lots of reading material. I mean, most people have the internet. There's all human endeavor, all poetry, all literature, everything.
There's so much on that internet, isn't there? It almost seems like every time I try and have a stab at completing it, there's just more stuff added, and it's difficult to get through it all.
And then there's all the idiots using it just to shout at women. So I mean, I'm not suggesting that approach is valid. You can probably work through other stuff before you start shouting at women. There's always something. My mum was a teacher, and she said that if you're bored, it's probably because you're boring. And I thought, well, that's all very well, but you've not been on a caravan holiday in North Wales with yourself when it's raining, Mum. You can always try, and it doesn't take much. You just do a little bit every day, and then if you look back over 10 minutes writing a day over a month, then you've got hours and hours worth of writing. And it doesn't matter if it's duff, because you're getting into a habit, and it doesn't matter if it's not what you want to read, because you're trying, because you're practicing something, because you're a young muscly fella, and obviously you didn't come out of the womb at that height with that amount of beard and hair.
I did. You should see my mum. She walks like a cowboy. It's really,
oh my
really
word,
terrible.
I was £10 when I was born. I think that might be something to do with.
I know a good USB for that price.
Hey, effectively, I was the weight of a piano when I emerged. Don't hold yourself to too high a standard, because remember, you are currently, if you put a pause button on your life and look around, you are currently doing the best that you can. No one is on a downward spiral without thinking, fuck it. You are currently doing the best you can, and you might be able to just slightly lift your nose cone so that there's a horizon there. If it's full of sky, well done, you're about to fly into space. If it's full of Alps, you're about to nosedive this bastard. However, if you can just keep the horizon pretty much level in front, yeah.
So it's obviously great getting into the habit of writing and stuff, but I know for me, I've been playing quite a lot of my guitar. I even bought a keyboard, as in piano keyboard, to teach myself a new skill. I've signed up for online lessons. Haven't actually started doing it yet, despite it's been in the room for 10 days now, and it's that sort of inspiration is to actually get going. So actually sitting down and say, yes, I'm going to do an hour of writing every morning, but having the stimulus and having those just that little bit of inspiration to get the ball rolling. Are you when you do write, do you just sit in a quiet room, and does it just come to you naturally, or are you reading a lot at the same time, or do you listen to music? Is there anything that helps get you into that sort of creative?
Lots of different things. When you say try and get into that creative mood, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. But what's more important is you don't get it right, you get it written. So anything could be a first draft, anything could be the beginning of something, but you're not in charge of that at the point that you're putting the pencil to the paper or putting your fingers on the laptop. I'd advise writing on paper with a pen. I use a pencil, but the thing is, if you've got a laptop, then the temptation to open up Facebook or open up Twitter or do any number of kind of the choice of any number of potential wormholes is there. You might end up recording a podcast. Brilliant. Okie dokie. But more than likely something will ping or something will go, and you go, oh, what was that? And then you're off.
You're just opening yourself up for distraction, whereas actually there are enough distractions generally in the world if you're that sort of person with that sort of attention span, that actually limiting that and cutting that out and isolating yourself away from your phone. I'm on my phone all the time at the moment, and it's not healthy, but it almost if I've defaulted to it.
But I've looked at my phone the other day, and my screen time over the past week was up 118% on the week before. Like, oh, that's not good. But then I was thinking of the stuff that I was doing, and I was kind of taking photos and recording videos and putting them out there, and just kind of making sure that you're uploading more than you're downloading.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting, because it is getting a balance, because my other half, she's going into work. She works in a hospital. She's going in every day, and she is at least seeing people, which is great. She's doing a fantastic job. I in my flat for 23 hours a day normally, and I get a lot of my inspiration for comedy from just being out and about and seeing things. Interaction precisely. And again, getting into the frame of mind, I could sit with a pen and paper in front of me for hours and try and write, but it won't come. But then I could nip to the shops, and in a 15 minutes walk to the shop, I will have 10 minutes worth of material, because I've got all the stimulus.
In biology, the interesting stuff tends to happen at the interfaces. So the deep sea can be fairly boring and static, but the surface where the waves meet the sky, and then at the shoreline where the sea and the land meet, and you get that kind of wave crash, you get the tides, you get a lot of interesting stuff happening at the edges. So if you are prepared to just pull an edge out of the air, like if you imagine you just stab a pencil through the air and imagine there's an edge there. Okay, you were talking about your distractions. Write a list of your distractions. I want you to come up with the top 10 of your best distractions, the things that are guaranteed to knock you out of focus. And if you look at that list, then if you read it back to yourself after a day or two, then you'll have the understanding that they are distractions. Oh my God, I know what they are. And you can fight against them. You can go, actually, I know what they are now. So if you see yourself being distracted when you've got an idea, you think, hang on a second. I realized a couple of things over this past month, because it was the 11th that I kind of stopped going out, the 11th of March. And I realized that this here, where this pencil meets that paper, that's where I earn. That is where I finally get to buy a house. I get to afford a house from that pencil touching that paper. It's not performing ideas, it's not finishing songs, it's actually putting the work in, just trying. That is the point at which it all begins, and everything else falls down without that. The angel,
and it's a prime opportunity to lay down some foundations at this point, and then after the performance element, you then build it up, and then it's up to you how many stories you stick on that metaphor.
Because the two guiding principles is that no one gives a fuck. I mean, I've put some stuff online that I thought, oh my God, I'm really proud of that. I hope it goes, no one gives a fuck. But the other thing is that no one gives a fuck. The joy in the fact that no one gives a fuck, and you can put stuff out there. And if someone goes, then you go, well, what did you do? You just sat there in your pants trying to shoot people down because you have nothing else other than shooting people down. Try and do something.
That's some really nice takeaways. I am going to make a list, and I'm going to do it with a pen. I do have a pen. I own one of those. I haven't worked out which end to use, but that could be tomorrow's challenge. But yeah, That's really quite useful. We're actually running out of time a little bit. I would love for you to be able to play us a little song. I know we discussed it earlier. Is it something you're going to be that you have been working on? If you still want to do it.
What I was going to do, I was going to ask you to tell me. I know that your girlfriend is in the other room, and she works. You said she works for the NHS.
Yes. She's a
What does
speech
she do?
therapist. She's a speech therapist in the NHS in a neurological hospital.
Wow. Okay.
Yes,
So
a real job. So when
tons of comedy there.
yeah, so she comes home and finds me sitting scratching my ass, and that I have done stuff. Honest.
Yeah. Okie dokie. So what I'd like to do is improvise a song. So where did the two of you meet?
We met in a bar actually in Clapham, a bar called Venn Street Records.
Venn Street Records. Okie dokie. So we have bar, we've got Venn Street Records. Was it a bar that sold LPs as well? Was it proper hipster or?
No, it wasn't that hipster, but they did have. It was hipstish. So they had records on the wall, record sleeves.
Okay, yeah. All right. And how long have you been together?
4 years, just over 4 years.
Just over 4 years. Okie dokie. And what's the best thing about her?
She's very caring, is the answer I prepared.
Okie dokie. And what's the worst thing about you?
Legs.
Okie dokie. And what's the worst thing about you?
Oh God, you put me on the spot there. I think it's probably my inability to have a serious conversation.
Excellent. He said, Robin is my name, and stand-up comedy is my game, and I see you here queuing as I do for the bar at Venn Street Records down in Clapham. She said, what? He said, it's my job to make people happier. And she said, what, you're a fucking clown? And he said, don't go there, cause clowns terrify me as much as being alone. But I'd be very happy if you would set up home with me in a tiny one-bed flat. We'll hang guitars on every surface that is not suitable for sofas. And she said, why would I want to be in a relationship with a stand-up comedian? And you said, well, I think you've got nice legs. And she said, no, it needs more than that. That's not the basis for a relationship. Come on, it's 2015/16. And you said, I simply can't take anything seriously. And she said, fuck, I'm a carer. That's outlook enough for me, because it's all very gloomy at the moment in neurological speech therapy, which is not the easiest thing to get into, a rhyming scantron. Neurological speech therapy, if you've had a stroke, not like that, Robin, it's not a joke, then she'll help fix your language and she'll help fix your brain. Or if the worst comes to the worst, she'll get you to do the same as her boyfriend does, and just tit around for coins, tit around for coins. Do you clean the flat when she is out?
Should do.
But you don't, and that's why she's an angel who walks amongst us. So at 8 o'clock on Thursdays, don't forget to clap for Robin's girlfriend and her patients, all of her patients. And don't forget Robin's parents. He described his mum as squealing with the filth that he was conceived in. So now Robin goes and puts on a new Hoover bag and justifies his place in society as his girlfriend comes through and goes online speech therapy consultancy.
Wow, you can have a clap. I know it is Thursday when we're recording this. That was really quite fantastic. And I don't think there is a better way to end this podcast, showing off your raw talent. That was really quite special. No one's written a song for me before.
I could hula hoop again.
You could hula hoop again. Maybe with sort of post-production trickery, I can combine those two things. I think that's maybe that'll be Monday's job if tomorrow I'm working on which end of the pen to use. But if there's
just rubbing the flat of a pen against the paper.
If you were looking for a reason to check out any of Silky's material, I think that song was, that's what you can expect. He is a genius. and this is someone who does tit around for coin professionally, and shows you what a great time to take a little glug of your water there. But yeah, Silky, thanks so much for coming on Lockdown Booty Calls. It's been fantastic having you as a guest. I've definitely got a lot of inspiration, a lot of really top tips from you. Hopefully people listening to this podcast will also be in the same boat and will have been inspired. And I wish you all the best for the rest of the lockdown, however long it lasts. And I'm pretty sure that you're going to come out of it really, really well.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. I mean, I've got plenty of books to eat, so go easy. Robin, it's always a pleasure talking to you.
This is a lockdown booty call.